Welcome back to the PAC Sports Network for our halftime show. We're at the break between Allegheny and St. Vincent, and we're now joined by the head coach for Allegheny women's basketball, Coach Kelly Muffley. Coach, first off, thanks so much for joining us as always today. Want to get into the overall season thus far. How have things been for you and the Gators to this point of the season?
It's been a really good year because we have a great group of humans. They make practice enjoyable. They're good teammates. They're good friends. And I think when you like the people that you're around, it makes the season, no matter what the record, better. And we have had some ups and downs. We've played some really good competition. So I feel like we're tested and we've been put to the test multiple times. We've had some injuries that off and on. We had a sickness bug that kind of affected us after Christmas break too, which we weren't at full strength, but we learned how to play without certain people and we learned how to play when they're back. It's been a really good start to the season, but we're all really excited to get into PAC play.
Well, you mentioned the tough competition, and it certainly was very tough to start the season, especially the first game. I believe a top 10 opponent, also mix in a Division II team in Edinboro. How do you feel those early season tests will pay off for your team down the stretch of PAC play?
Every year I've tried to schedule really hard non-conference because at the end of the day, we want to be able to play with the best teams in Division Three. And so playing Division Two teams, playing top 10 teams, that's always what we wanted to do. It forces us to play outside of our comfort zone. We kind of figured out roles. We figured out where people are comfortable, where they're not comfortable. We learned a lot about our group in that early stretch of 4 games with those 2 back-to-back tournaments at home and then at Chatham. We learned about our toughness and where we've got to get better at it and what we can continue to improve. I would have been much happier had the record leaving those first 2 weekends been better, but ultimately we took a lot away from it. So.
Well, and you also mentioned how you've got a great team this year, mixed with a lot of experience, but also a lot of talent as well. And obviously, returning a player like Bella Antonesi that can do a little bit of everything is, I'm sure, a great luxury to have, including her passing ability. Recently had 16 assists against Pitt Bradford and only 1 turnover. I'm curious to hear from you what you think it is in her game that allows her to not only be a great passer, but taking care of the basketball that well when, let's face it, she's got the ball in her hands 85, 90% of the time.
She does. And, we talked about it today. A lot of teams key in on her. They put their longest guard, their most athletic guard. She's just really versatile. She's got a really good pull up. And so if you can shoot the 3, you can pull up, you can get to the rim, you are a serious threat. And so she takes advantage of that and tries to score often early for herself. But then when she becomes that focal point scoring, it just forces all the defense to her. And she is so okay with being the facilitator then. Like she just flips between those roles of, being the facilitator, being that assist guy, or scoring when need be. And I think that's what's unique about her is that she can do both really well and can change it mid-game, can change it for an entire game. She's just very unique in that way to be able to do both roles.
And I'm sure she's loved playing with Jess Bickert and the ability that Jess has to score. And feels like every year we talk about her as that constant threat offensively. With her being a senior now, though, what do you think it's been in terms of her leadership that has maybe stood out more than in previous seasons?
That's a good question. So with her and with Sarah Santacola, they've been more vocal this year than ever. I think Jess has really led us from the beginning with work ethic and just the way that she works in practice and the standard that she demands of herself. But this year, she's really brought everybody up vocally as well. She's been very communicative with me and with other captains about how we get better as a group, which is, I think, different from years before when she just played and worked really hard, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Sarah Santacola kind of in that same realm where just every year so consistent, so efficient and so productive as well. But it feels like for Sarah, she can have her presence felt everywhere on the floor. But where do you think it's felt the most, whether it's offensively, defensively, or maybe even somewhere within on either one of those sides of the ball?
It's a great question. I think teams really have to decide, are they going to take away our good guards or are they going to take away our good posts? And so she's another person that she's gotten a lot better at kicking out. And so if they decide that day that they're going to double, they're going to triple team, she'll find the right pass, and she's completely fine with that. Her rebounding has been something from day one, though, that is just hard to mimic. And it doesn't matter who we play, it doesn't matter the pace of the play. She's going to get rebounds, and she just has a nose for it. So I think that's how she affects the game the most. Second chances, closing out possessions. But she's obviously become a scorer for us. She's a great defender. She allows us to play off of ball screens kind of uniquely. So there's a lot to her game, but if I had to pick something that I think affects us the most, it would definitely be rebounding.
Well, Coach, you certainly have the makings of a really great team this year that can make a great run at the PAC Championship. Before we let you run, and as always, appreciate your time and sharing a little bit about the Gators season thus far. What do you think it will be the biggest key, really, that can get this team into that position where it's getting past the semifinals and getting to a PAC final and ultimately capturing one?
Yeah, we started talking about that kind of really after break. Once we've really settled into PAC stuff, is our toughness just has to be there every single game. I think if as long as we are the hardest workers in terms of getting on the floor, in terms of rebounding, pressuring the ball, if we're willing to be the hardest workers and get outside of our comfort zone every single game, we can compete with any team in the country. I fully believe that. But it's demanding that every day in practice, raising that standard, and then holding each other accountable to it in games, whether we're up 5, we're down 5, we're up 20. Just maintaining that level of work ethic is what's going to help us win the PAC.
Well, Coach, certainly excited to see how the rest of the season plays out for you and the Gators. As always, thanks so much for stopping by, and good luck the rest of the way.
Of course. Thanks.
That's Allegheny head women's basketball coach Kelly Muffley. Stick with us. We have more PAC basketball coming up next in the second half right here on the PAC Sports Network.